Things you've been very active in. Of course, your background is being an auto dealer.
Right.
Anybody in Jeff City knows Mike Kehoe's name. If they don't know you from the Senate, they know you from being an auto dealer. Walk us through where the issue is with the franchise law right now. What's been happening the last few weeks? Can you explain that to our viewers?
Sure. Missouri since 1980 has had a Missouri franchise law that new and used car dealers have had to follow. It's a state statute established that Department of Revenue would normally enforce. It says if you want to be a car dealer, here's what you have to do. You have to be bonded. You have to have a facility. You have to do these things. And it's really a consumer protection piece. A couple of years ago, a kind of new to the market, new technology, new way to distribute cars, a company called Tesla out of California came to the market, and they went to Missouri and asked for a dealer's license to be able to sell their cars. They didn't fit any of the parameters under the franchise law, but for some reason Governor Nixon and the Department of Revenue issued them a dealer license. And what Missouri auto dealers are saying is, well, wait a minute, for the last 40 years we've complied with the Missouri franchise law. Now there seems to be a new tier developed specifically just for one company, and that's not a level playing field.
Let me ask you a question. I think we all know the auto dealers sponsor little league teams. They're very recognizable in the community. What is the role of an auto dealer from when a car rolls off the assembly line to you buy it? What does that auto dealer do?
Well, sure. The biggest thing is what they offer is that customer service and that interaction with that customer, so that when the customer goes and looks for the car, they have a place to trade a car in. They have a way to test drive a car. They have a way to take delivery of that car where all the features are explained to them. And most importantly, if there should be a problem with that car, or even if they're in an accident or something like that, they have a location to come back to where that person's name is on the building, that person's involved in the community, that person goes to church, plays soccer with their kids. That is somebody that's not going to just go away overnight. They're going to protect their reputation, and in doing so, they're going to make sure that the manufacturer's car that they sold is taken care of to the customer no matter what it takes.
We've had some legislators on this very program, and they've discussed, it's a law that Governors Bond, Ashcroft, Carnahan, Holden all enforced as law. Now you have a Governor Nixon that's taking a different track. Is it not a little bit of a legislative sanctity issue? When you pass a law, don't you believe the governor's going to enforce that law? And if they can pick and choose, what if they don't want to enforce the TANF changes you made? What if they choose not to do it?
Well, this governor has chosen, and it's a matter of fact, there's been many laws that he decides to enforce or not enforce, manipulate, interpret different ways. His Department of Revenue has been incredible in how they've interpreted various tax laws that they try to enforce onto businesses. And sometimes we're having tax audits where we're all of a sudden changing tax policy in the middle of it. So it's not just the franchise piece, to your point, it's multiple different pieces. This administration has chosen to interpret in different ways that are very outside of the box. Let me just say that.
The Tesla thing is kind of interesting. What that fight is happening across the country in the various states, and kind of how it's playing out here. And the technology that's involved, the models of sales that are involved. And as far as I'm concerned, I think everybody needs to play by the same rules. If we need to have a debate on what those rules are, I think that's appropriate. But until we have that, I think everybody needs to play by the same rules.
Senator Walsh, I'd really be interested in your opinion on this. I think he makes an interesting point. There's rules that are set up. If you want to change them, that's your prerogative as a legislator.
Absolutely, and that's why we are in those chambers. That's what our job is. And the franchise law is there to level the playing field for everyone. We haven't addressed any of the issues that you have to ship your car to Chicago to be repaired. What about all those jobs in Kansas City and St. Louis and in between that won't be happening for an auto dealer that wants to come here and have a different set of rules? We don't have a different set of rules for other industries in the states. We have these laws, and we have them to level the playing fields so that everybody's treated fairly. And that's what this is all about, fairness.
Susan Monte, you've been in the executive branch, you've been the state auditor. Was it sometimes tempting for you to maybe pick the laws you wanted to enforce and maybe not be as interested in the others?
Well, it's always tempting, but the real concern that we have is that regardless of whether you agree with what the legislature comes up with, and certainly I don't agree with it a lot, that is where our lawmaking power is. And the law on these car manufacturers and dealers is that very clearly manufacturers can't sell direct to customers. They have to sell through a dealer. So what's happened here is the Department of Revenue has found a way to let Tesla have a dealer license. And it takes a pretty strong analysis of the rules in order to make that happen. And I think one of the things that you talked about with Senator Keogh is that the Department of Revenue has a history of making some kind of interpretations in ways that the legislature didn't intend, whether it was scanning ID documents for concealed carry or the fee office kickback of fees for bidding contracts that Senator Sylvie and Senator Walsh are carrying. So we've seen this with the Department of Revenue anyway.